Hello and welcome to this PowerPoint presentation on Constantine the Great. He was the emperor of the Roman Empire between 306 and 337, and he is probably most well known as the emperor who Christianized Rome. However, we'll find out in the upcoming presentation that that is not entirely true. Constantine was born into a military family in a part of the world that's now known as Serbia and Croatia. Interestingly enough, later in his life, when he established a second capital of the Roman Empire in Byzantium, or what he renamed to be Constantinople, he established it very close to his home country. So you'll see that here is his home country, where I'm marking the X, and he established his second capital right here, just south of the Black Sea. That became significant in both military and economic strategy later in his life. But the fact that he was born into the military family gave him certain rights and privileges, as we'll see. As a result of Constantine growing up in a military family, he also had the privilege of growing up in the court of Emperor Diocletian. Now, Diocletian had not been born a noble. He had very humble beginnings and fought his way to the top, basically growing through the ranks of military until he later became elected emperor by his fellow soldiers and by his fellow military leaders. Constantine, as a part of Diocletian's court, learned a lot from Diocletian's reign, but Diocletian was very harsh, particularly against the Christians. And so while Constantine had a lot of opportunities in terms of his education and material wealth, he also had opportunities to learn how to be a leader as well as how not to be a leader. As I said, Diocletian was a very harsh ruler, and one of his major desires was to completely eradicate Christianity from the Roman Empire. And at that time, Christianity was still seen as a very minor sect of the Jewish religion, and probably less than 5% of the population followed this radical, free-thinking religion of Christianity. Christians were marked by being peaceful, being people who were full of charity, and people who were willing to die for their beliefs. The burning of Christians and the looting and pillaging of Christian churches, the burning down and razing of Christian churches actually ended up inspiring many Romans and many people in the Roman Empire to consider Christianity as their faith, because they saw people being martyred for their faith and were inspired themselves. Constantine observed this and realized that persecution based on religion was not a logical and very good strategic way to eliminate religion, for one thing, and it was also not conducive to trying to unify the Roman Empire, which was essentially his strongest desire in his leadership. Now, during Diocletian's reign, Constantine was considered a deputy emperor of the western part of the Roman Empire. After Diocletian abdicated, Galerius was emperor of Rome for a brief period of time until his death in 311. Constantine competed with other deputy emperors from around the empire for control of Rome. In particular, he went up against a person named Maxentius. They had a battle across the Tiber River at a place called the Milvian Bridge. The battle at the Milvian Bridge marks probably the most significant episode in the life of Constantine in terms of his becoming a Christian. Constantine allegedly had a vision or a dream the night before the battle in which he saw a cross or a labarum in the sky with the words saying "In hoc signo vinces," which translates as "By this sign you will conquer." He took that as a meaning that if he adhered to the Christian God and marked his soldiers and their shields with the sign of the cross or the labarum, which is like the Cairo, Constantine would have success in battle. And he did have each of his soldiers mark their shields essentially with an X and a perpendicular line going down, vertical line, to dedicate themselves to the Christian God. Up until this point, Constantine had been a monotheistic pagan believing in the sun god Solus. But at this point, he believed in superstitions and he believed in visions and marked all of his soldiers as Christian going into this battle. As a result of Constantine winning the battle at the Milvian Bridge against Maxentius, and him becoming the leader of Rome and the Roman emperor, he did consider himself Christian from that point forward. However, he did not go through the rites of becoming a Christian, which we know today as baptism, because he knew that at the point that he officially converted to Christianity, he would have to make some significant changes in his life. Becoming a Christian meant that you would deny yourself material pleasures and you would live a much simpler life. You would donate most of your wealth to the poor. And he, of course, was becoming the emperor of what was hopefully going to become a unified Rome. He was not willing to give up his material lifestyle, mostly because Constantine's motivation was to unify Rome, not necessarily to make Rome into a Christian country. We know now that a lot of that work was done by his mother, Saint Helena. Helena, because she was the mother to the emperor, was an empress of her own right, and she became sainted, particularly in the Eastern Christian Church in Greece, etc., shortly after her death. Now, Helena was known because she converted to Christianity almost immediately upon Constantine winning the battle at the Milvian Bridge. She was so moved by his success in battle that she became a Christian, and she became very instrumental in spreading the Christian faith into the Roman Empire, the Eastern Roman Empire, and bringing a lot of money and resources to that area. Constantine later rescinded the law making Christianity illegal. However, he did not return to the persecution of pagans. In fact, he wanted to have a unified Rome, and one of the ways he saw to do that was to allow people to practice the religion of their choice, or the faith of their choice. Now, in order to appease both the Christians and the pagans, on much of the art and architecture that Constantine created during his reign as emperor, you'll see both Christian symbols as well as pagan symbols. This image is an image of the Gate of Constantine, or the Arch of Constantine. Over on the right-hand side in the background, you can actually see part of the Colosseum. It's located very close to the Colosseum in Rome. And on the Arch of Constantine, there are both pagan as well as Christian symbols and figures. So you will see figures of certain Roman gods and goddesses, as well as figures of Christian saints and the apostles. He wanted to appease both parties because he felt strongly that keeping people unified and at peace through their religion would also allow them to be at peace politically. One of the things that Empress Helena, or Saint Helena, was known for was being the very first Christian pilgrim. She made a pilgrimage to the Holy Land in what is now known as Palestine between the years of 326 and 328. While she did that, and along her journey, she brought a lot of money and resources to build churches, to create charities that gave help to the poor, to make the idea of Christianity one of peace and giving and almsgiving. She was instrumental in bringing a lot of people to become Christians themselves. During her time in Jerusalem, she actually found, through the help of an older Jewish man, the alleged place of Christ's true cross. She brought a piece of that cross back to Rome with her, and it is now housed today as a holy relic at the Basilica of Santa Croce in Rome. she was in her self-doubt about whether or not this was the piece of the true cross until she also had a vision that told her it was in fact a piece of the cross. She also has a part of the insignia that went over the cross identifying Jesus of Nazareth as King of the Jews. So as a result of Empress Helena's work, the small Jewish sect that was Christianity at the beginning, maybe containing 5 to 10% of the population, eventually morphed into a major world religion in the span of only about 50 years. Now, Christianity was still not considered the major religion of the Roman Empire because there was still the desire to maintain its unification, and political unification meant also a religious unification and a religious tolerance. But the changeover from being a very small, little-known sect of Jewish people to a major world religion took place really quickly, and then because of the spread of the Roman Empire, Christianity spread all throughout the world. Later, toward the end of Constantine's reign as Emperor of Rome, he also wanted to establish an eastern capital for the Roman Empire as well. He found a place called Byzantium, which was a fairly small town, and it was strategically located just south of the Black Sea on a fairly tiny land mass that almost connected southern Europe with Asia. It is what is now present-day Istanbul, Turkey, but at the time he renamed it to Constantinople, or it's translated to be City of Constantine. This happened in 330 Common Era, and as a result of that, he not only had a center for his empire, but he also had a strategic military position, allowing him more foresight over the eastern part of the empire and the eastern part of the Mediterranean. In military terms, this put him in a much better position in later battles between the Roman Empire and the Persian Empire. So while Constantine is known as the first Roman emperor to convert to Christianity, probably his greatest legacy was actually eliminating persecution based on any religion. And that was really important in his strategy to unify Rome politically. Establishing the city in Byzantium or Constantinople allowed him strategic military as well as economic prowess. And through the work of his mother, Christianity really became the new majority religion in the world as it was known at the time. So Constantine is credited with a lot of it, but as we know, sometimes between every great man, there's a great woman standing behind him. One of Constantine's famous quotes is, "With free minds, all are to worship their gods." So that translates to mean that everyone is free to worship as they see fit, and that the state would not have a say in what the theology or what the religion should be.